Stop buying these 10 guitar pedals. Even boutique ones are misleading that pedal in your hand right now, the one you saved up for, the one the YouTube reviewer called a game changer. What's actually inside it will disturb you. Boutique branding stamped on mass-produced circuits, a marketing term called true bypass that can silently destroy your tone. Corporate consolidation hiding behind names that sound handcrafted and independent. We tested 10 of the most hyped guitar pedals on the market. We broke down the components. We dug into who actually owns these companies. We connected it to a gear industry that profits from keeping players in the dark. What we found changes everything about how you should be spending your money. These are the guitar pedals you need to stop blindly buying. And by the end, we'll show you what's actually worth it. Number 10. The Boss DS1 Distortion. Introduced in 1978. Over 1.5 million units sold. Kurt Cobain. Prince. Joe Satriani. The most recognizable distortion pedal on the planet. Beginners buy it because their heroes used it. Parents buy it as a first pedal. The packaging promises legendary tone, affordable, reliable, a piece of history. But here's what they don't tell you. The Boss DS1 you're buying today is not the pedal Kurt Cobain used. Over the decades, Boss quietly switched from through-hole components, individually hand-soldered parts, to surface mount technology. Smaller, cheaper components installed by machine at scale. The circuit diagram looks the same on paper. The feel is different. Here's the data. The current DS1 retails for around $65. For a very long time, it sold for $30. That near doubling happened while the production process got cheaper, not more expensive. Guitarists who have compared vintage DS1s to current production models consistently note the older units have more warmth and body. The newer ones are brighter, more clinical, less forgiving. And here's what should genuinely concern you. Kurt Cobain and John Frusciante both moved on from the DS1 to the DS2. Stevie Ray Vaughan never used one at all. The Used by Legends marketing is technically accurate for a different version of the pedal than the one you're actually buying. You're paying for a legacy the current product can't fully deliver. But wait, the next pedal built its entire reputation on a chip substitution the company hoped nobody would notice. And the price difference between the real thing and what you're actually getting is not small. Number 9. The Ibanez TS9 Tube Screamer reissue. One of the most beloved overdrive pedals ever made. Stevie Ray Vaughan. The Edge from U2. The green enclosure. The reputation. At around $100, it feels like you're buying a piece of history. But here's what the box doesn't say. The original TS9 used a specific op-amp chip, the JRC4558D. Guitarists, engineers, and tone-obsessed players have spent decades arguing about whether this single chip is the source of the magic. The reissue on shelves today uses a Toshiba TA75558 chip instead. A higher tech chip, a lower noise chip. But not the same chip. Analog Man, one of the most respected guitar pedal modification shops in the world, has documented this in detail. Their conclusion: the modern reissue sounds close, but is not identical to the original. It can benefit significantly from modifications. Modifications that cost extra money on top of the already inflated purchase price. Here's the real issue. Ibanez markets this as the same classic with the same careful hand wiring and analog circuitry. The circuitry is similar, the chip is different, the board is different from pre-2002 models. You are buying a very good approximation, not the original, at a price that treats them as identical. You're paying for a name while the spec sheet quietly tells a different story. But it gets worse. The next brand has built an entire mythology around a shortage. And when you see what the original now costs on the used market and what you actually need to spend to get that sound, the numbers will shock you. Number 8. The Klon Centaur. Approximately 8,000 units made before 2008. Original units now listed on Reverb between $5,000 and $10,000. Bill Finnegan, the engineer who designed it, actually printed a message on his official KTR reissue that reads, "Kindly remember, the ridiculous hype that offends so many is not of my making." The creator of the Klon called its own hype ridiculous on the product itself. Here's the reality. A Wampler Tumnus, a widely reviewed Klon-style pedal, costs around $110. Jeff Beck, on his final solo album, chose to use a J-Rocket Archer clone over his actual original Klon. Jeff Beck, given the choice between a $5,000 original and a $200 clone, picked the clone. The used Klon market is driven by scarcity, celebrity association, and the psychological premium people attach to rarity, not by a tonal gap that blind testing can consistently identify. A reviewer who spent over $500 acquiring a used Klon KTR concluded they were, in their own words, still not super impressed compared to quality clones at a fraction of the price. An entire ecosystem of boutique Klon clones, some retailing at $200 to $275, exists because the myth of the original transfers its halo to everything in its shadow. You are paying for the story, not the sound. And the company behind our next pedal has turned that exact same story-selling strategy into a $100 million business. Number 7. Electro-Harmonics and the Big Muff Pie reissue lineup. Triangle, Ram's Head, Op Amp, Green Russian. EHX has released reissue after reissue, each celebrating a different legendary circuit from a different era. The marketing is brilliant, a faithful recreation of the original circa 1969 circuit, the one that started it all. Players buy the Triangle thinking they're getting 1969. They buy the Ram's Head thinking they're getting 1973. Here's the disturbing part. The phrase faithful recreation is doing enormous work in those descriptions. EHX founder Mike Matthews himself described the Triangle reissue as pedalboard friendly, a direct acknowledgement that it lives in a modern chassis, not the original enclosure. A head-to-head comparison of a 2020 Op Amp reissue against a vintage 1978 original found trace differences in grit and decay that experienced players hear clearly. But here's what most players never stop to ask. EHX is selling at least 5 different Big Muff versions simultaneously, all described as faithful reissues of different eras. If every version is an authentic recreation, then none of them is special. They have turned nostalgia into a product line, and most guitarists paying a premium for the Triangle have no idea the circuit they believe they're chasing has been quietly updated multiple times. This isn't just about one company, though. The next revelation is about a marketing term that the entire industry uses, one that can actually make your tone worse while making you feel like you're getting something premium. Number 6. True bypass. Not a single pedal, a selling point used across hundreds of pedals, including many of the most expensive boutique ones on the market. Go into any guitar store, read any pedal description online. True bypass is everywhere. Boutique builders charge a premium for it. Buyers demand it. Forums rage about it. Here is what they will not tell you. If you run more than 5 true bypass pedals in a chain, which most working guitarists do, you are creating a long, unbuffered signal path. And according to Anderton's, one of Europe's most trusted guitar retailers, that is the functional equivalent of rolling your tone knob down to 7 and never touching it again. You lose treble, you lose presence, you lose clarity. The cable capacitance between all those pure, true bypass pedals degrades your tone in a way no single well-designed buffer ever would. Sweetwater confirms it. True bypass can improve your tone, degrade it, or make no difference whatsoever. It depends entirely on your specific setup. A well-designed buffer, which every Boss pedal provides for free, can preserve your signal better than a chain of expensive boutique true bypass pedals. Playing through a rig full of true bypass pedals with no buffer is like playing with the tone permanently rolled back. Most players never test this. They just buy the marketing. True bypass has been transformed from an engineering consideration into an identity statement. Builders charge more for it. Buyers feel validated. and tone quietly suffers. But if true bypass is a myth, wait until you hear what hand-wired boutique actually means in this industry. Number 5. The phrase hand-wired boutique. Walk into any effects retailer and you'll see it on dozens of boxes. Small batch production, hand-matched components, artisan builders. Guitarists pay 2, 3, sometimes 4 times as much for a pedal with this language on the packaging. The implication is clear. A human crafted this carefully. It will sound better. Here's the truth that boutique builders quietly acknowledge when pressed. The vast majority of boutique pedals use commercially fabricated printed circuit boards manufactured in bulk. The hand wiring refers to a final assembly step where a technician solders components onto that prefabricated board. It is not what most people picture when they hear the word hand-wired. JHS founder Josh Scott disclosed publicly that in 2023 alone, JHS spent $2.6 million on PCBs. $2.6 million in a single year. That is not a hand-wired cottage industry. That is scaled production. And in blind listening tests, experienced guitarists consistently struggle to identify hand-wired versus PCB-based pedals when the underlying circuit is identical. The real differences are in repairability and durability, legitimate benefits, but ones that have nothing to do with tone. You are often paying for craftsmanship that literally cannot be heard through an amplifier. But here's the truly disturbing question. If the boutique label means less than you think, who actually owns these companies? Because the answer to that will change how you see the entire pedal wall at your local guitar store. Number 4. Roland Corporation, the parent company of Boss. This single entity manufactures and distributes the majority of compact stomp box pedals sold globally. The DS1, the BD2 Blues Driver, the TU3 Tuner, the entire DD Delay series. All Roland, all the same factory, billions in annual revenue, the largest pedal manufacturer on the planet. The boutique pedal industry was built on being the alternative to exactly this: independent, small batch, human-scaled. But Josh Scott's $2.6 million PCB disclosure tells a different story about what independent boutique means at scale. And Boss itself? Consistently dismissed by boutique culture as the corporate option, the beginner option, the safe option. Meanwhile, professional players from Frusciante to St. Vincent to Radiohead's Ed O'Brien have used Boss pedals on records that defined generations. The corporate option makes iconic records. Most guitarists have no idea they've been sold a narrative about corporate bad versus boutique good that was always more marketing than reality. The same players who dismiss Boss spend $450 on a Strymon delay. And that brings us to the next number. Number 3. Strymon. The Timeline delay retails for $449. The Big Sky Reverb, $479. The Mobius modulation, $349. Strymon has built a formidable reputation for premium digital processing. We are not saying these pedals sound bad. They don't. But here's what most players don't realize. The Zoom MS-70C DR, a digital multi-effects unit retailing for around $140, produces sounds that forum users and reviewers describe as very similar to the Strymon in direct A to B comparison. Not identical. Similar. At less than a third of the price. Other players found that Eventide pedals at the same price point as Strymon offer significantly deeper editing and more versatile processing, yet are positioned as the less prestigious option. The Timeline is a beautifully built, genuinely capable pedal, but it is a digital processor. The algorithms inside it are not fundamentally different in kind from algorithms running in pedals at half the cost. What the premium pays for is build quality, interface design, and above everything else, brand status. Strymon has positioned itself as the luxury watch of the pedal world. The mechanism works. The prestige is what you're actually buying. And almost nobody in the review ecosystem says this out loud, because almost every content creator reviewing the Big Sky earns a commission the moment you click buy. Number 2. Electro-harmonics, Holy Grail reverb versus the real options available to you. The Holy Grail retails for around $79. It's widely described as a great budget reverb. Accessible, simple, good enough to start with. Here's the pattern that should concern every guitarist. The TC Electronic Hall of Fame 2, retailing around $140, is consistently rated as a significant step up in direct comparisons. More reverb types, stereo input-output, tone print customization, genuinely cleaner algorithms. The price gap is $60. Meanwhile, the Digitech Polara outperforms the Holy Grail's Spring Reverb emulation in multiple A versus B tests and retails at a similar price point. Budget reverb pedals are marketed as starter options, mid-range pedals as professional quality, boutique reverbs like the Big Sky as essential. But the sonic improvement from $79 to $140 is larger than the improvement from $140 to $479. You pay exponentially more for diminishing returns. The industry counts on you not running that comparison yourself. And when you add up what the average guitarist spends across a full pedal board, chasing that elusive pro tone, the total makes what we found at number 1 even more disturbing. Number 1. What is actually worth your money? Here is the truth. The guitar pedal industry does not want you sitting with. The circuit designs inside most pedals are either decades old, legally public, or minor variations on a handful of foundational topologies. The Tube Screamer circuit, the Big Muff circuit, the Klon circuit. These are not trade secrets. They are documented online. Builders large and small are producing variations on the same small set of ideas and charging whatever the market's perception of their brand will allow. The Wampler Tumnus at $110 matches or exceeds the Klon at $5,000, according to players who have tested both. The Proco Rat at $80 is more versatile than the Boss DS1 and costs nearly the same. The TC Electronic Hall of Fame 2 delivers 90% of the Big Sky experience at 30% of the price. And a Boss TU3 tuner with its built-in buffer does more for the overall tone of a large pedal board than most of the boutique true bypass pedals sitting next to it. The most honest thing anyone in this industry can tell you: know what circuit you actually want, find the most direct and honestly priced version of it, and put the money you save into your amplifier or your instrument. That is where tone actually lives. 10 pedals, most built on the same circuits, most sold with premium branding layered on top of standard manufacturing, corporate consolidation hiding behind independent sounding names. Marketing terms, true bypass, hand-wired boutique, that mean less than you have been told. A review ecosystem that earns commissions on the products it covers. This is the guitar pedal industry, and most players have no idea. But here's what should truly concern you. If the pedal market operates like this, what do you think is happening with guitar cables? Pickups? Speaker cabinets? That investigation is coming. What we found will change how you think about every piece of gear you own. Subscribe for more gear investigations. Turn on notifications. The next one drops soon.